Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Can everyone hear me, please?
Good afternoon. Good
Good
afternoon.
afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. So, I am always a fan of turning on your videos for training sessions like this. So please let's turn on our videos, right? While we wait for others to join in, I did mention the last time that we will not have to, have to push this session to next week. So regardless of the numbers of persons that are here today or that will be joining us, we just have to go ahead and when others join in, then they can meet us wherever it is that they met us at. So please, can we turn on our videos just briefly let's kick off with an introduction like I did put out on the group. Turn on your videos, turn on your videos, turn on your videos. Thank you very much, Oluchi. Glad to put a face to the name.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. So after the introduction, we can now put off our cameras, right? But for a start, let's just familiarize with ourselves. Good afternoon, Esther. It's a pleasure to put a face to the name. Good afternoon, Onyinye. Nice to put a face to the name. So anyway, I see Onyinye now, recognize her. So nice to have you here. So Chidima and Barclay, we are waiting for you. Chidima and Barclay, do you have any challenges? Let us know. Chidima, Barclay, any challenges at your end with turning on your video? Thank you very much. Hi. Okay, I think Barclay left the chat, right? So let's proceed. So let me go first. My name is Ada Unendubisi, and by the special grace of God, I am the Chief Procurement Officer at Extrada International Staffing Solutions. Overall, I have 10 years or over 10 years experience when it comes to recruitment, right? So I love to call myself a recruitment consultant or a recruiter because I've been doing this for over 10 years, right? So when you talk about recruitment, I can hold conversations with you, beyond the 24 hours timeline. I will be talking recruitment, right? And I used to say, or I would love to say that recruitment for me is like a ministry. So it's like a mission for me, right? Let's say I've been called to do recruitment. So that's how I like to describe it, right? And it's just something I find I derive pleasure, and it's something that I would say I'm quite passionate about. And by the grace of God as well, I have supported, different organizations across various sectors when it comes to recruitment across all job levels, from C-suite management, C-suite level, senior management, middle management, down to entry-level recruitment. So that's what I have done, and that's what I'm still doing. And it's a pleasure to have the opportunity, to also be in a position to train and impact knowledge. So as many of us on this call that, are seeking to build expertise or, acquire knowledge when it comes to recruitment and talent acquisition. So I'll let Esther go first, and thereafter Oluchi, Onyinye, and Chidima in introduction. So Esther, over to you. I think Esther's screen is frozen. I don't know if it's from my own end, but it seems to be frozen. Okay, yeah, I suspected. So Oluchi, while we wait for Esther, please briefly introduce yourself. Oluchi, you're muted.
And then meeting. Hi, good afternoon. I don't know if you can see me.
Yes, I can.
Okay, sorry, I had to step out and I'm trying to see if I can blur the background, but I haven't gotten a hang of it.
Okay, so
Okay,
if you
so
want to plot the background, you're going to see something that looks like an effect.
is it like the Gemini kind
Yes,
of
like an
effect?
effect.
Um,
That's before you joined. Before
oh,
that's when you would have been able to do it.
oh, I don't think I saw that. I don't think I saw it. But anyways, okay, so my name is Akunna Oluchi Ngajuba. Um, I have had over 10, a decade experience in banking, spanning through customer service, relationship management, and international operations. And during my banking career, I've been privileged to work with, two one of the best financial institutions, which is Benin Bank and currently Providus Bank. And I'm also, I have passion for human resources, and this has, made me to get certification, which is in CIPM as far back as 2019. But because I understand that for one to be able to, get more, or rather get, work, or rather work as an HR person, you need to advance yourself in doing trainings and all that. So that's why, that's why I made my interest to, join this training. I don't know if there's anything you want me to say again.
Thank you very much, Oluchi. So you covered it. So in essence, you're here today because of your interests, when it comes to all things human resources, and the fact that you believe that, consistent trainings help you build expertise. So that was quite clear. Thanks for sharing that with us. So Onyinye,
Thank
let
you.
us hear from you. Introduce yourself and tell us why you're here today, why you're participating in this training session.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Um,
Good
my name is
afternoon.
Onye. Yeah, Onye Millicent Obuehi. There's really nothing much about me. I'm just
Actually,
yeah. I'm
mm,
just a young lady that is trying to get into the HR space. I worked in the consulting firm as a HR intern, and that was for like 5 months. Well, currently, I work in the recruitment team at a renewable energy firm, and I'm here to learn more. Like they say, learning never ends. So yes, I'm trying to gather all the knowledge I can get, because I think I'm interested in the recruitment part of HR. So yeah, so I'm interested in learning more and looking forward to meeting everybody and getting more knowledge. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Onyinye, for sharing with us. So let's hear from Chidima.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I have to put that out there. My name is Chidima Mukike. I currently work at a digital advertising firm. I've been there for about 4 years, and I work as a business development executive slash account. I think that's been a very good experience. But like sometime in 2024, I think there was an incident or a situation that just happened, and somebody left, and then the higher time and everything. It just made me very curious about so many things that happen, as well as work relationship. And I was like, okay, this like so I started, or I registered for my CIPM exams, did the whole thing, got my certificate, but I still didn't have like practical knowledge of HR and HR operations. And sadly, where I work is a small firm, so we don't really have a lot of structure in that regard. So it was something I also wanted to like do and come and implement there, like so many things. And I feel like recruitment is like the foundation, it's like the basic. If you miss it in the recruitment level, you've missed it totally, because it shapes the business results, it shapes employment engagement, it shapes like how people relate with each other in the whole ecosystem of the business. So I think is one of the things. So when I saw this opportunity, I really, really jumped in. I was very excited. I was really hoping that I got picked, and I did, and I'm so excited. So thank you very much.
And thank you very much, Chidima, for sharing. It's a pleasure to also have you here with us, right? And from what you have shared with us, I can tell that you are really, really clamoring to get experience when it comes to recruitment. And I'm very hopeful that, this would add to your knowledge, and then you can start, executing some of the things that you wish that you could have, where you couldn't do them because you didn't have the knowledge. So it's a pleasure to have you here today. Okay, so let's hear from Esther.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good
Thank
afternoon.
you for selecting me for this opportunity. Like Chidima said, it's really I'm happy to be here. Okay, so my career started off so earlier years of my experience was as a customer experience officer. Yeah, that was for a short time, like about 2 years. And from there, it was not a large team, so so it was more like admin and customer experience were working together. So in the long run, I moved fully into becoming an admin officer. So still supporting customer experience and then administration. And then again, the team is not large, like I said, so it's still somehow linked into what HR does. So at some point, I started, supporting the HR team with, onboarding new hires, even supporting them with recruitment. So that was where I started, picking interest in that field, to be honest, because I was made to, so my role entailed making phone calls to, applicants, scheduling interviews at the time, then just that. So when the recruiter who was on the team got to the stage where she had already, done the shortlisting of CVs, she moved those candidates to me to reach out to them, to confirm the availability for meetings, for interviews. So I was basically doing that at the time. Then the company was Taylor Limited, is a furniture company in Ikeja. So I was doing that. So after some maybe months, I was actually promoted. So I totally now left customer experience, and then was now fully with the HR team. And then at that point, I was now, supporting with shortlisting CVs. It was not a large team, so it was just few recruitment going on. So sometimes maybe once in 3 months, there was really no much, need for recruitment. So we were more like relaxing. So we're doing other things more than other than recruitment. So that went on like that, still, working with the P&C team. Then I left. And okay, I will just talk about the positions where I worked closely with the HR team. After then, I went to another company, but it was not anything relating to HR. That was just, life taking me everywhere. So so currently I work as HR admin advisor at Jobaman. I started working there actually as an office manager. So it's my third, I'm like 3 years over now at Jobaman. So my first year, what I actually was hired as was the office manager. I know that one is focused more on administration than HR, because the HR bits of that office manager role then on the JD was just onboarding new hires. So I was the one onboarding them for administration. We have different onboarding stages. So when it gets to the admin bit, I used to take the onboarding of new hires. And then the other part also that was HR, that has to do with HR also is the maybe events planning. That was also on me. So when we have team bonding, so employee engagement, that's what it is, right? Employee engagement, yes. So I was also, my task was also that. And then, but when it comes to the recruitment, I was not much of a part of it. The only part where I now come in is when we have bulk of recruitment. So for example, sales team, we've had a lot of challenges hiring salespeople. So it's always been challenging because the market for sales is not very great. So when it comes to that point, that's where they now reach out to my team members, now reach out to me and say, Busayo, we need your support with talent sourcing. So then I go on LinkedIn and start looking for applicants, or no applicant, looking for salespeople, maybe searching, going to companies, searching, and then reaching out via messages. So that's the part where I now come in. Then maybe few times. Then when it comes to hiring on the admin team, because I'm like the team lead now for administration part of P&C. So when it comes to hiring like admin officer, those parts, I am the one that now take that up. Shortlist CVs. Also, maybe something like front desk. Although we've not hired front desk. The same person has been the one there anyway. But my point is that's the only part but the larger recruitment, like the larger team recruitment, I only support them with, maybe sometimes, sometimes when there's a lot, like I said, I just come in and okay, where can I come in? But I'm literally it's not my JD to recruit for job. Yeah, so that's why when I saw, and it's something I really would love to, because the goal eventually is to actually move totally from administration and then focus on HR. And I know that like recruitment is like, if there's no recruitment, there's no people in the company, right? So let's, and I love that, you get to talk to people, you get to, source talent, you hear from, you see people's experiences, it's so interesting, you're able to compare JDs to what they've done and experienced. Sometimes people, lie, some people say the truth, all of that is I just find it very interesting. And when it comes to shortlisting CVs too, it's very interesting because some people, I've learned so far from my team members that sometimes the CVs might not be as rich as you think, sometimes I push it to them and they're like, "Sorry, what kind of CV is this?" And I'm like, but the person has all the things we've listed. And they're like, there's more to that. Did you see this part? It's just very interesting. So when I bumped in on this training on LinkedIn, I'm like, oh, this is a very great opportunity to learn. And because I'm we are not large on the admin team part of P&C, so I've not been able to even, say I want to now support more because I have enough I'm doing already anyway. So you get the idea. Even though I've met with the P&C manager many times to say that the goal is to actually move totally, but for some reason she's not letting me do that yet, because I believe because she sees that there's plenty of work you're doing here now. How do you want to manage, But personally, I know that eventually that's the goal. And I believe that by the time I'm able to, get on this training, be very vast in this area, and I go back to her and I let her see that levels has changed too. Maybe she will not be, she would be happy to, move me there. So that's why
So that was a very detailed one, right? So in essence, beyond, your interest in HR, you're aiming for this forum to help you transition, from admin into HR. So thanks for sharing with us. So that's what you're trying to do, You also want to take that opportunity. You don't just want the opportunity to come to you, but you want to be in a position where you're the one, reaching out for that opportunity. And that's what this training will do for you. Thank you for sharing all of that with us. So, Barclay, I'm calling you people based on, the names you have on your screen, right? But if that's not
Yes,
your
ma'am.
name, feel free to let us know exactly how you want us to address you. So please introduce yourself and tell us why you're here today.
Okay, so my name is Torian Batley, and
Okay.
I'm here today because I want to improve and also grow in field of recruitment. I've had
Okay.
experience with hiring and also recruiting, but I would say I have basic knowledge of it. And from the outline you sent to the group about what we're learning and also because I went through your page on LinkedIn also, from what you do, I believe that this cohort or this training is going to be really vital to my growth in HR.
Thank you very much, Bakle. And yes, we are hopeful as well that at the end of the session or the training, you come back to tell us, the impact that this has had on your training and on your growth as well when it comes to HR. Chidima said something, I don't know if it's Chidima, but someone said something about recruitment being the foundation, right? It's the foundation. If you're talking about HR, you cannot fully talk about HR without the recruitment bit. So we are very hopeful that you would definitely, be impacted positively. So let's hear from Aisha. Aisha, if you're speaking, you're muted.
Sorry, good morning. Sorry, good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, Aisha. Can you turn on your video while you do your introduction? Is that possible?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
So you're welcome. My name is Aishat Minigbe. I currently work with a bank and I have interest in HR, which is why I registered to, take up this course. I also want to thank CIPM for the opportunity to even be a part of this. So I currently work in the operation team, but I have interest for HR. So I want to at the end of my course, just switch from operations to HR.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you very much, Aisha. Now, majority of us here, while some of us have experience in recruitment, some of us, don't have experience in HR or recruitment, right? And many of us are here for the purpose of being able to transition. So that would also guide exactly, the content of my training with everyone. So that at the end of the day, you're not waiting for you to be called, or you're not even waiting for a position to be open for HR or recruitment in your organization. You're the one reaching out by virtue of supporting here and there. Your people in your organization or people in the department or business units you aim to join can see you as a potential fit for that particular role in any of the HR teams. So that's the aim as well. And by the grace of God, at the end of this training, because for me, it's very important for me to also track some metrics and some milestones. And as we progress, I will be communicating that as well. Because at the end of the day, I'm more keen on impact, right? How has this been helpful in you attaining your goals, the goal of, building on knowledge on where you are at when it comes to recruitment for those doing recruitment, and, being able to track metric for those who want to transition, how have they been able to transition? So these are the things that I'll be tracking, within this stretch. I think currently we have about 7 weeks thereabouts. So that's what I would be tracking. So thanks everyone for joining in, right? And I look forward to a very interactive and engaging session. Now, my type of trainings, I usually I'm not the one that do majority of the talking, right? So I will be asking questions, right? And me asking questions, please, there are no right or wrong answers, right? But like I said, I love it when people are putting themselves out there when it comes to talking, right? And the more you talk, the more I've noticed something: when you talk and respond to things, you're able to learn faster. But when you have an idea in your head and you don't put it out there, right? It doesn't mean that you're not going to learn faster, but the pace at which you learn compared to someone who is always putting themselves out there, the person who puts themselves out there, their pace of learning is quite very fast, and they're able to quickly remember, oh, I said it this way and I was corrected that way. So this is me asking and also craving your indulgence to speak up when you're being asked. I won't be calling names when I ask questions, but to keep things very fast and for us to progress very fast, if you can just respond, like I said, no right, no wrong answer. Nobody will be judged or crucified here. So let's go into our module for today, right? So I'll be sharing my screen. And if at any point in time anyone can hear me, please call my attention so that I can try to reiterate, recap, or throw more emphasis just to shed light. So can everyone see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yes, I can.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
I can.
Thank you very much. Right. So we'll start from module one. We all collectively we have about 16 modules to cover, right? So each week we explore a module, and sometimes we'll have ample time. We can take 2 modules, just to ensure that we cover all the modules before the end of the 8 weeks, right? So today we'll start off with introduction to recruitment, right? Now, when you ask people what they know about recruitment, people will tend to have different understanding as to what recruitment means, but which I'm still going to ask. But at the end of it all, you notice that whatever response you get from people when it comes to recruitment is talking about something. And what it's talking about is about, people, availability of people, bringing people into an organization. You'll notice that at the end of the day, that's just a summary of the responses you're going to get from people when they talk about recruitment. Now, beyond that definition of recruitment, because sometimes when people define recruitment, they tend to see it at face value. And this training is going to give us some sort of mind shift, because I've engaged with multiple HR professionals, right, at senior level, at mid-level, at entry level, and there is this constant factor. When people talk about recruitment, they're always talking about recruitment on a surface level without trying to, look into the nitty-gritty of what recruitment stands for. And because of that level of understanding, there tends to be a whole lot of things that goes wrong when it comes to recruitment. Now, on no grounds should recruitment be treated as a surface level project or as a surface level conversation. Recruitment is not meant to be surface level, because like somebody says, right, the quality of people you bring into an organization will determine the growth and success of that business. If you see any business that has folded up today, they didn't just fold up because of money issues. They didn't just fold up because of the people at the top. It's a people problem. And that's why I would like to reiterate again, recruitment should not be treated as a surface level thing. Everybody in an organization should also be a part of recruitment. Yes, the HR team is usually the custodian. They are usually the key stakeholders when it comes to recruitment. But in all honesty, everybody in an organization should be a part of recruitment. Recruitment should not just be a surface level conversation. It's not something that will just walk past because, oh, today this vacancy is open. Let's just walk past and fulfill our righteousness. It shouldn't be treated like that. So in light of that, can I just get at least 2 persons respond to how they would define recruitment? So let me hear from 2 persons. How would you define recruitment?
All right, let me, I guess I'll go first. For me, I think or I believe that recruitment basically is sourcing, talent that fits into the requirement for an open role for any organization.
Thank you very much, Esther. So can I hear from 1 person?
Okay, I would say it is the process of identifying, attracting, screening, and hiring the right and qualified candidates for a specific role in an organization.
Okay, thank you very much. So like I said earlier, when you ask people to talk about recruitment, right, the summary of it all is that it's talking about people, bringing people into an organization. And we just heard from Esther and Tong Yang. So sorry, should I just stick to Barclay? Because I love addressing people by their names. Should I stick to Barclay?
Yes, ma, you can.
Okay, thank you very much, right? So that's the summary of what recruitment is, right? But recruitment doesn't just start from the point of you getting people, right? People will tell you recruitment is just about identifying people, attracting people. No. So from where I sit, I usually like to say that recruitment is a strategic process. And it doesn't just start from you going to identify people. Recruitment for me starts from the core of understanding what an organization stands for. What is the organization goals? What is the organization objectives? What are their vision? What are their mission? What are their core values? You can't do recruitment well without even knowing the organization that you're trying to recruit for. So before we start talking about, let's go and recruit for this role, let's go and recruit for that role, what is this business trying to achieve? What does the business stand for? What is the vision of the business? What is the mission? What's the objective? How does this particular role that is vacant contribute to the vision, to the goals, to the objectives of the organization? So until you're able to answer this question, that helps you define recruitment. So if, for example, an organization needs to hire an accountant, you're asking questions. Why do they want to hire an accountant at this point in time? Is it because it's just a regulatory requirement? Is it because it's just a nice to have? Is it because this role contributes to a strategic goal of the business? Is it because this company is having financial crisis and without an accountant, they won't be able to, close up that financial issues? So when you have clear understanding as to the why of the existence of the organization, and you have answers as to the why this position is vacant, that helps inform your definition of recruitment for any role. Now, when it comes to recruitment, right, for me, I usually say that no two roles are the same. The strategic process that I would adopt or I would integrate when I'm working for role A might be different from the strategic process I'm going to adopt when I'm working on role B. That's not to say that there will be no similarities in my recruitment processes. But the reason why my approach will be different is because of, the questions I would have asked myself from the get-go as to why did this company want to hire for this role? How does this role contribute to the growth of the organization? So until I have my answers, that would inform how I define recruitment for these two roles. Now, in simple terms, anybody can tell recruitment is a strategic process of identifying, attracting, what's it called now? Assessing, selecting, and whatnot when it comes to bringing in the right people into an organization. That's the general understanding of what people can tell you about recruitment, and they are not wrong. But that's why I'm saying that we are here today to have a mind shift. Recruitment is not just about the act of identifying. So you need to first of all understand the business you want to recruit for. Now, some of us might be working with an organization, some of us might be consultants. Now, regardless of the one that is playing out based on your current situation, recruitment is meant to be the same. If I'm a consultant and I'm supposed to recruit for my clients, and they are passing on or assigning a role to me, I'm not just going to jump right in and say, these are the profiles for the role. There is a need for me to engage the clients. There is a need for me to also do my research on the business. There's a need for me to ask critical questions to understand what that organization wants pertaining the role before I recruit. If you're working within an organization and let's say a position is vacant, now for those of you who are not already in the HR team, now how do you contribute. That's why I say everybody is meant to be a part of recruitment. If you are aware that these are the open positions within your organization, the goal is not just for you to say, oh, I have somebody, let me refer. Because some of us have, I think in some companies, there is something for referral bonus when you refer people and that person gets hired. Now, the goal is not just for you to go and say, okay, I know this person is doing the same role in this organization. The goal is for you to understand, is there a reason why this position is vacant? If it's possible, you can even approach your HR team. Why is this position vacant? Because I would want to support. But for me to be able to refer the right person, I need to know, is there some peculiarities that you might want to share with me pertaining to this role that can guide my referral of a potential candidate for the role? The HR too will know that, oh, you're not just a novice when it comes to recruitment. Though, in fact, you will shock them when you come to them with this question. They'll be shocked. Again, I would say recruitment should not be treated at surface level. Now let's move on. So we are moving on to the purpose of recruitment. What is the purpose of recruitment? Anybody can easily tell you the purpose of recruitment is to fill a gap. The purpose of recruitment is to fill an urgent vacancy. The purpose of the recruitment is maybe the company wants to embark on this project, right? And because they don't have enough people, they need people to come in. Some people can tell you the purpose of recruitment is because we are short-staffed, right? Now, the purpose of recruitment, it is not cast in stone. Now, the purpose of recruitment is subject to the need for the recruitment. If an organization, for example, an organization is trying to scale a business and their scalability goals has to do with digital transformation, and for them to get it right, they've looked within and then they've seen that, okay, there is a need to build a tech team. The purpose of recruitment is built around that particular need. So what is the purpose of recruitment there and there? The purpose of recruitment is digital transformation. Generally, when you ask people what's the purpose of recruitment, they will just tell you to fill a gap. Are they right? They are right. Are they wrong? It depends on how you analyze it. Recruitment can arise for different reasons. And that different reasons helps you to identify the purpose of that recruitment. Now, if someone should leave a role, let's say, for example, a company terminates somebody's employment or somebody is resigning, and at the point where the organization wants to close that gap, bring in somebody again, the purpose of that recruitment exercise is not just to fill a gap. It could be that the person is resigning because he or she was asked to resign for competency issues or for performance issues. It could be that the company is terminating somebody for that role because, let's say, for example, there is an increase in the scope of what that role is meant to do, and the person sitting in that role do not have the capacity to drive that function. And as a result of that, maybe the company now needs somebody who is more senior. So you can see that the purpose of recruitment is not streamlined, it's not cast in stone, it's subjective based on, you know, the reason or the need for that recruitment. If at any point in time you have questions, please feel free to ask, even though I would appreciate that, you know, the questions are streamlined to, you know, what I was saying at that point in time. But at the end of the session, we'll still have ample time to ask questions. But just so that you don't lose your train of thought, you can write out your questions so that at the point where we end the session, you know, you can ask your questions. So moving on to the next one, right? Recruitment versus talent acquisition. Now, people tend to mistake talent acquisition for recruitment and also tend to mistake recruitment for talent acquisition. Are they doing the same thing? Almost. But are they different? Yes, they are different. Recruitment is embedded in talent acquisition. Now, recruitment is usually for an immediate need, meaning this position is vacant. We need to close it up as fast can be, meaning there is an immediate, a role has been identified, a need has been identified, and there is a need to commence that recruitment exercise to close out that role. Talent acquisition focuses on the long term, but as much as it focuses on the long term, the short term aspect of talent acquisition is recruitment. Now, where am I headed? Recruitment and talent acquisition, they are very, very similar. In fact, many times they are similar what's it called, process. Now, for those working within consulting, they usually they are usually seen as a recruitment consultant. They are usually the one that do majority of this recruitment. And for those within organization, that's in-house recruiters, are usually referred to as talent acquisition. Now, why are they referred to as talent acquisition? Now, for those in consulting space, when I say I'm a recruiter, it means I'm supporting my clients to fill their immediate needs. But then again, the way I can distinguish myself is I'm not just focused on my client's immediate need. I'm also supporting my clients in the long run. Now, what does that mean? Because if, for example, I've been partnered with a business for like, say, 3-6 months, I start having insights into some of their roles. I start having insight into some of the functionalities of those roles. I start having insight into the business direction. And as a result of that, it informs my recruitment strategy for them in the long run. Now, that's informing my recruitment strategy for them in the long run practically puts me in the position of being their talent acquisition business partner. I don't know if I'm communicating. Please, if you're confused in any way, just call my attention so that I can reiterate. Now, in-house talent acquisition. So for them, the immediate might not be from recruitment. And that's why if you're an in-house TA person, or if you aim to be an in-house talent acquisition person, your focus should not be solely on just the immediate, which is the recruitment bit. Why do I say that? I've seen so many TA persons, and when you ask them, what is your talent acquisition strategy? Sometimes they are confused. They seem to not even understand what that question is. Now, for people who are doing talent acquisition, when you're looking at the long term, your focus should be beyond the immediate needs. What is the business direction? Now, for this business direction, what are the roles? Who are the people that is needed, or who are the people that are essential to the direction that this business is headed? So that when that need arises, it doesn't become a fire brigade kind of exercise. That way you have proactively taken measures to ensure that the company is covered when it comes to the ability to identify and bring on board people that they need for them to be able to achieve that strategic goal, or for them to be able to align to the strategic direction that they intend to achieve. That is where TA comes in, because you're not just focused on the immediate, you're looking at the long-term plans of the business, and you're also aligning your strategy to match the long-term direction or the long-term goals of the business. And sometimes for people who are doing in-house talent acquisition, some of them tend to trivialize the importance of pipeline. When I say pipeline, I'm talking about building a pool, a people pipeline, a talent acquisition pipeline, or a talent pipeline. Because if, for example, I know that in 5 years' time or in 2 years' time, the direction of the business is to become a global brand, and their major strategy to become a global brand is through maybe, let's say, digital transformation, or let's say it's through maybe regional expansion. I know the business direction. And because I know the business direction, it informs my strategy as to how to support the business achieve this goal. How? Let's say, for example, now the business direction is regional expansion, let's say in 2 years' time. And let's say it's been mapped out that the regional expansion cuts across, let's say, Abuja, Port Harcourt, let's say Kaduna, for example. And in these regions, for example, they want to kick off with getting heads of the region. I don't have to wait for next year for me to start mapping out my plans as to how to support the business in this particular direction. It is now my job to start engaging key stakeholders to understand this direction properly, that can now help inform my own strategy as to what needs to be done to support the business achieve that goal. But for recruitment, because there is already an urgent need, so my strategy is majorly streamlined towards that particular immediate need. So any strategy I'm developing for recruitment means that there is a role available, and that strategy revolves around driving the successful placement of that particular role. Now, moving on to recruitment life cycle overview. So it's fleshing out here. Now, these are the similarities, or people can just simply say that these are the strategic processes when it comes to recruitment, meaning from the very inception to the final phase. That's the inception to completion, right? This is the life cycle. At what point does it start? At what point does it end? Now, recruitment, right, for people who are in the consulting space and for people who are in-house, what's it called, recruiters, the final phase might differ, but it's not too far off. It's not totally different. But let me start by walking us through this, right? For some of you who can see my screen, let's see if I can make this bolder. So it starts here from the role identification. Now, for those who are on the consulting bit, that's on the consulting space. Many times you get told that that's by your clients. You get told that, oh, this is the role that we want you to support us on. For those in the in-house bit, sometimes you participate in role identification. How do you participate in role identification? Now, for those who are doing TA in-house, I usually advocate, try as much as you can to be part of the performance review process. Try as much as you can to ask the right questions, because ideally you're supposed to be a part of you're supposed to be a part of the role identification phase. So if you're doing in-house TA, don't wait to be told these are the roles that are available. Sometimes you want to engage key stakeholders, do an assessment of the talent in each team. When you do that, nobody even needs to come and tell you these are the roles that are available. Sometimes you're even the one that is advocating, you're even the one that's making recommendation. But those on the recruitment bit, many times we have to wait to be told that these are the roles that are available. Now, regardless of where you fit in, be it on the consulting bit, be it on the talent acquisition bit, role identification is very important. Role analysis is very important, as well as role requisition. Just a minute. I think some of you can see the other aspect of this. Okay. So when we talk about the role identification here, so as the name implies, it's just talking about identifying a role, right? You want to know, why does this role exist? You want to know, what is the role? You want to know the job title. You want to ask questions, right? Who does the role report to? Who reports into this role? What are the KPIs, for this particular role? Who should be an ideal candidate for the role? So these are some of the questions that you ask when you're being told that this is a particular role that the organization wants to embark on. These are the things that you do when it comes to the role identification phase. Now, for role identification, in some organizations, there are processes to it, right? At the point where it's been identified that this is the role the company is looking to fill, right? Sometimes the hiring manager, right, or let's say the HR, might be sending you a JD. Sometimes as well, the hiring manager might not send you a JD. So if you don't get a JD, would you not say, oh, because you don't have a JD, it simply means that maybe they're not ready to recruit for the role? No. This is also where I would also want to advise us to be proactive, especially at the point where a role has been identified. So sometimes you don't, in fact, you should not wait for the hiring manager to be the one to start feeding you with information. This is now where your stakeholders meeting comes in. Once a role has been identified, the first thing you want to do is have what I call a requisition meeting, right? You want to be able to have a requisition meeting. Now, in that requisition meeting is where you're engaging the hiring manager, the person who is looking to close out that role. And then you're asking the hiring manager questions. Because one thing I've noticed as well is sometimes the reason why recruitment goes wrong is because sometimes even the hiring manager don't seem to know what they are looking for. So as a recruiter, as a talent acquisition person, it is your job to guide them through the kind of questions you're throwing at them. Many times I've seen people advertise for roles plenty times. They keep advertising. And when I see things like that, it tells me that there is a problem. It's either they are doing interviews, but they've not been able to get who they want. And the reason why they've not been able to get who they want is because even they themselves don't even understand what they are looking for. So role identification and analysis is very important. So beyond them just telling you this is the role, why is this role vacant at this time? Is it because we are looking to expand? Is it because we are looking to increase the number of people in the team? Is it because the people in this team are short-staffed? Is it because the person occupying this position is leaving? Is it because we are trying to replace for the role? Is it because there's a competence or a performance gap somewhere? So that you're not just taking a surface level to say, okay, this is a role, let me just go ahead to go and work on it. So by the time you ask these questions, it further guides you. And all of these questions is also you analyzing. So the role has been opened. Let's say the role is accountant. Your analysis is now the part where you come in with the requisition meeting, where you're having stakeholders engagements. You're engaging the hiring manager. You're asking the hiring manager questions. In the first 3 months, how would you measure success in this role? This is you trying to analyze, trying to even help you have a vivid representation of what an ideal candidate should look like for this role. What KPIs would you be evaluating this candidate based on? This is trying to do your analysis. And in doing your analysis, sometimes there is also a need for you to build what I call a competency framework. But we'll go into that in details. It's still part of the modules that we'll be covering. I'm just trying to walk us through all of this. So role identification, analysis, requisition, they work simultaneously. So meaning you have to do them simultaneously. You know that this role is open, you do your analysis, and the reason why you do your analysis to understand the role better. So when you're done with that analysis, sometimes you can even go the extra length to still send a requisition form. The requisition form is to cover up areas where you still need to build more insights or still need to build more understanding into the role. Please, if you're with me, I would like to see reaction so that I know that I still have everyone on the call. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Okay, so at the point, thank you so much. So let's continue. Thank you. So at the point where you are satisfied with the level of work you have done on the identification, analysis, and requisition, you now move on to your recruitment strategy. Now, how do you know you have done enough work when it comes to role identification, analysis, and requisition? Now, you get to know that when you can build an ideal candidate profile. Now, if you don't understand a role to the point where, without looking at a document, you can tell who an ideal candidate for a role is, you've not done a good job. It's only at the point where you can clearly state or define who an ideal candidate is for a role. That's when you can beat your chest to say, oh, I'm done with my role identification, I'm done with my role analysis, I'm done with my role requisition. What do I mean by that? For example, I'm being tasked to work on an accountant role. And in the course of engaging stakeholders, I'm being told that for this accountant role, we want somebody who is pretty much young, right? Let's somebody who is not above 35, for example. We want somebody who is chartered, who is a chartered accountant. Somebody, this person must have ACA, right? We want a female for this role for gender balance or gender equity purposes, right? And then in the course of engaging, I'm also being told that for this particular role, this person must have experience when it comes to financial reporting, preparing monthly financial reporting, and this person accuracy level when it comes to financial reporting must be top notch. This person must have experience using maybe accounting tools like SAP, that's SAP, or Sage, right? Or this person must have experience working within the financial institution, let's say streamlined to banking. You can see right now that it is giving me my definition of what an ideal candidate for that role must be. Hope I'm making sense. If you're not clear on who your ideal candidate for a role is, don't even bother about moving on to the second level. So if you're not doing HR or recruitment currently, and you see that a role is vacant in the organization, and for that role that is vacant, you went through the JD, but you seem not to even be clear as to what the JD is, don't even bother working on that, because when you work on that role, it's just going to be like a wasted effort because you're not clear. So before you embark on any recruitment exercise, you must ensure that you're clear on who an ideal candidate should be. And you will not be clear if you've not done your role identification, if you've not done your role analysis, if you've also not done your role requisition. Now, to define who your ideal candidate must be, you can see, you notice, and what I have pen out here is, you must focus on the non-negotiable requirements. What are the non-negotiable for this particular role? What are the non-negotiable that any suitable candidate is required to have for any role? Your non-negotiable translates to your ideal candidate. So there's something I usually do, and that's what has always helped me to drive success. In fact, my success when it comes to recruitment is, if not 100%, I'll say 99.9%. Let me not blow my trumpet too much. Is because I must be clear. In fact, I must be able to envision who your ideal candidate for that role is. In my consciousness, in my subconsciousness, if you ask me, this role you're working on, who are you looking for? I should be able to tell you without having to tell you, wait, let me go and bring my notes. I must be able to tell you who that ideal candidate for that role must be. And that's what we should be aiming for. It helps increase your success rate when it comes to recruitment. Now, requisition, as the name implies, is just pointing out some requirements that is needed for that role. That's just that term there. Let's not see it as a very big word. It's just pointing out to what are the requirements, what are the things that you require for this role. Your non-negotiable translates to your ideal candidates. Now, sometimes a JD will not cover this non-negotiable for discriminatory purposes. I'm sure for some of you who have been applying to roles, sometimes you apply, you get rejection. It's not because you're not good enough, but it's because there are certain requirements that is not on the JD. Because if they put it on the JD, people might see the firm as being discriminatory. For example, you might not see in some JDs the age requirements. You also might not see in some JDs the gender requirements. Sometimes as well, some organization will tell you that, oh, in this company, we only recruit BSc, unless you have an HND. You are not rejected because you're not a good fit, but because the company has mapped out some set criteria that are non-negotiable for the role. It's not because you're not good. And sometimes you don't see all these things on a JD. And companies will not put everything on a JD. And that's why, as a TA person, as a recruitment person, when a hiring manager is sending you a JD, don't just take it and go ahead and start sourcing. Use that JD, go back to the hiring manager and ask them if there are any peculiarities or if there are some non-negotiables that they would want to share with you, which is not on the JD. Because many times you notice that JD usually focuses on the technical competence. It focuses on the responsibilities. And the responsibilities are majorly built around the technical competencies required for that role. So sometimes you don't really give off everything that you need to work on that role. So move on to the next, recruitment strategy. Now for recruitment strategy, when we talk about recruitment strategy, now you have a clearer picture of who an ideal candidate should be for that role. This is now where you take a step back to now build your own recruitment strategy. It is not the hiring manager that would build the recruitment strategy for you. It is you that will build your own recruitment strategy, and you cannot share your strategy with the hiring manager as to how you intend to go about, identifying and attracting the right talent for that particular role. Now, sometimes I've seen many HRs, many recruiters, many TAs, they don't even bother about doing a recruitment strategy. They'll tell you that the strategy will develop as they're working on the role. So once you are clear as to what is expected of you to do on that role, take a step back and formulate a recommendation. Your recommendation should not even take you more than 15, 30 minutes, and you are clear. It gives you a clear direction as to where you're headed. Now, if in the course of you building your ideal candidate profile, you identify that for this role, the focus is on getting people who have experience within the financial services. That informs your recruitment strategy. It tells you that if you need to engage, if you need to source people for that role, you should be focused on sourcing people within the financial services. If maybe for that role, in your ideal candidate profile, you have been told that, oh, we need people who have experience in financial reporting, it informs your recruitment strategy. Now, let's dwell on recruitment strategy. Now, when it comes to recruitment strategy, what is expected of you? The purpose of recruitment strategy is to be able to come up with a clear direction as to the channels or the platforms to focus on for the purpose of identifying and attracting the right talents. Meaning you're asking yourself, what channels can you explore that can help you get ideal candidates as swift can be? So you're exploring the channels. You're also asking yourself, what kind of experience do I want every candidate that I come across to have all throughout this recruitment process? So you're also mapping out your candidate's journey, your candidate experience journey in your recruitment strategy. You're asking yourself, what processes do I want to adopt? For every candidate I engage, do I need them to fill any form, or do I need them to do any assessment? How many levels of interviews do I need them to go through? You're fleshing this out, you're building this. Now, when it comes to your recruitment strategy, you're asking yourself, what will be the mode of my interviews? Do I want to kick off with a coffee chat first? Do I just want to send them an assessment? Do I want to invite them for physical interviews? You're mapping that out. So these are the things that you need to take a look at when it comes to your recruitment strategy, to properly map it all out. And it gives you a clear direction as to what you'll be doing, what you'll be implementing from the very start to the very end of that recruitment exercise. I've seen cases where, a recruiter or a talent acquisition starts a recruitment process. Today, they'll tell a candidate, they'll call the candidate, oh, we need you to come in for an interview, for a physical interview. The next day, they've called the candidate again. Oh, so sorry, we cannot do physical interview. Confirm if you can do virtual interview. You can see the confusion. What does that tell you? It tells you that there is no clear direction. So it is very important that you're mapping out your recruitment strategy. Immediately you identify who your ideal candidate is, you're asking yourself, how do I want this recruitment process to play out? And please note, every recruitment is a project. Meaning it must have a start time, it must have an end time. It must also have systems and processes in place as to how the processes would be completed, or as to what would happen during the exercise. So every recruitment is a project and must be treated as such. So that you're not doing hanky-panky. Oh, today I'm supposed to do this. Oh, tomorrow, oh, let me change it. It's not going to work. I've seen such type of recruitments. And this training is to help you have that level of understanding that every recruitment is a project and you must treat it in a professional manner. Because in the long run, you're dealing with people. And the thing about dealing with people is every experience with people is already giving them a perception of the kind of person you are, or the kind of recruiter you are, or the kind of talent acquisition you are. And bear in mind that every recruiter, every talent acquisition person is a brand ambassador for the organization. You're a frontliner. Because you're a gatekeeper. You're a gateway. People coming through you into that organization, and you must hold your own end very well. So you don't want to give up the vibe of this company, they are not serious. Because when people are analyzing, they are not analyzing your own performance. So it is the organization that they are praising. Their perception is not just streamlined to you alone. Their perception is streamlined to the organization. So it is very important that you have your recruitment strategy well thought out. Now, remember I said from the outset that not two recruitment process is the same. Let me give a practical example. For example, I'm being tasked with working on a C-suite role, let's say managing director role, and I'm being tasked with getting a driver for that managing director. Will my recruitment strategy for the managing director role and my recruitment strategy for the driver, will it be the same? Please, I need response. Is it going to be the same?
Not at all.
Exactly. But you won't know that your recruitment strategy won't be the same if you don't sit down and prepare your recruitment strategy. Now, for the managing director, my strategy when it comes to sourcing might revolve around headhunting, might revolve around coaching, might revolve around making use of LinkedIn, right? My recruitment strategy for a driver, I definitely will not see them on LinkedIn. So my sourcing channel would definitely not be, LinkedIn might not be my go-to. My go-to might be maybe word of mouth. My go-to might be maybe referrals. My go-to might be maybe job boards. My go-to might even be maybe WhatsApp groups. So you can see how my strategy differs when it comes to sourcing. And that's why it is very important that you map out your recruitment strategy documents. So let's move on to the next, right? We have here sourcing and screening. Now, when you have your recruitment strategy, you are very clear as to how you want to source. You don't spend so much time doing try and error. You know exactly where you need to go, what platforms you need to you need to focus on. You know exactly what you need to do when it comes to sourcing. Now, depending on the role itself, depending on what you have in your recruitment strategy, you can now start exploring based on the decision you have arrived at in your recruitment strategy. Now, for sourcing, your strategy can lead you to using LinkedIn. Your strategy can lead you to going for career fairs. Your strategy can lead you to utilizing job boards. Your strategy can lead you to like maybe building a referral network or utilizing your referral network. Your strategy can lead you to using or leveraging on existing pipelines that you have built for that role. So when it comes to sourcing, your sourcing strategy is informed based off your recruitment strategy. So there is no straight-jacketed way when it comes to sourcing. It cascades down from your recruitment strategy. Now, before you source, for those in the recruitment world, that's recruitment consulting, one mistake I've seen people do, and that's because sometimes we are fighting against time when it comes to recruitment. Recruitment is a time-bound project. Because the company will tell you, oh, we need this person to come and resume, let's say in 2 weeks' time or in 1 month time. So you're fighting with time. And recruitment and talent acquisition is a very high-pressured role or high-pressured profession. Nobody will man pressure on you, but the role in itself will man pressure on you. So for those of us who are not in it yet, let us not think is a bed of roses. So many times, whenever I want to recruit any TA person into my team, I'm always looking for somebody who have that passion. Because if you don't have that passion, if, for example, you just want to do it because people are talking good about it, or you just want to do it because you just want to be talking to people every day, you might not survive in the world of recruitment or talent acquisition. For those people who are really doing the right thing, it demands a lot. It demands a lot. Now, when it comes to sourcing, I usually advocate, do not just jump right into sourcing. For those in the consulting world, don't just jump right off into sourcing without putting out a job description out there. Sometimes you might even have built expertise to the point where you don't even need to put out a JD. But bear in mind that the more you put out a JD, the more you're re-emphasizing in people's mindset that you are a recruiter. The more you're letting people know that this is what you do, the more you're creating awareness into your profession. Now, according to statistics, 70% of the time, the people that apply through JDs, through job adverts, right, they are usually not fit for the role. That's the truth. But you don't just want to say, because you know you're not going to get the right person, don't bother about putting out a JD or a job ad. So as much as you can, make it a point of duty to put out a JD out there. For those in the talent acquisition space in-house, it's also a way of branding for the company you work with. When I see organizations JDs, I'm able to get an insight into what that company is into, or what or into the people that an insight into what kind of people makes up that company. It helps me to just have what's it called, to do a quick analysis of that organization. When I also see a recruiter's JD, it tells me the kind of person that recruiter is. I can easily sneak into their thought process. So, and again, I've seen people make the mistake of trivializing JDs. Sometimes they just do it for religious purposes. They just do it to fulfill righteousness. And as I said earlier, I've seen people treat recruitment so much as a surface level thing. And like I said, everybody is meant to be a part of recruitment. Sometimes, if for example you're currently not doing, you're currently not in the HR business unit, or you're not doing recruitment, when you see your company's JD out there, it is also your job to review that JD. And if you notice any mistake, point it out to the team, because in the long run, you're a part of that business. And whatever perception the public gets from that JD, it comes back to you because you're part of the organization. But like I said, people tend to treat recruitment as worker pass. Oh, it's not my business unit. Let me mind my own business. These are some of the things that helps you gain visibility in the workplace. So the quality of your JD is also very important, and don't jump right straight into sourcing. Ensure that you put word out there. That's why it's called a job ad. You're creating an awareness. Sometimes I usually advocate, don't expect too much from your JDs. But still yet, that doesn't mean you should not do it. So put it out there, because it does plenty things for you. It might not help you get your desired talent, but it can help you build a pipeline. Because the more that JD is out there, the more people will tell you, will keep reaching out, oh, I saw your job advert. And even when they apply and their CV is not a good fit for that role, the CV you get might be a good fit for another role that might come up in the nearest future. So still on sourcing and screening, right? You put out a JD, then you move on to execute your sourcing based on what has been penned down in your sourcing strategy. You can utilize LinkedIn, you can utilize job boards, you can do referral, you can leverage on your existing pipeline, you can even leverage on WhatsApp groups, communities, friends and families, depending on what you are fleshing out in your recruitment strategy. That's what's going to guide your sourcing. We are still going to dwell more. Like I said, we have a whole lot of modules to explore. So each of these is being treated in some of the modules, and I'm still going to shed light on when it comes to sourcing. Because again, another thing I've seen is when it comes to sourcing, people struggle. And sourcing is now that, you know, when you want to test things, when you want to see one who has capacity, somebody might be very good in the role acquisition, what's it called, role analysis and requisition. Somebody might be very good when it comes to penning out their recruitment strategy. But I've noticed that where we have so much gaps in people who are recruiters and talent acquisition people is in their sourcing. Now, if you had a good understanding of the role, if you've mapped out a recruitment strategy, that should ease the challenge when it comes to sourcing, but still yet some persons still struggle. But as you progress with the training, you will get to learn. So sourcing and screening many times are being done simultaneously. I've seen people as well that as they are sourcing, they will put screening on hold. Bear in mind again that I said recruitment is a time-bound project. You're working twice as fast, you're working against time. It's okay if you don't have the capacity to do both at the same time, but in the long run, there is a need for you to start building that capacity. And I would also train as to how you can source and screen at the same time, simultaneously. Because again, we are in a world where there's a consistent war for talent. The more you delay, the more another company is engaging a potential talent that you should have closed out on. So bear that in mind. You don't want to say, oh, let me wait until I've gotten all my profiles before I start screening them. Because for those of you who are currently doing recruitment, I'm sure you've seen cases where a candidate must have sent you their CV, and because you're still trying to source and to get more CVs, they're even the ones reaching out to you. Oh, I've sent you my CV, but I've not heard from you. So imagine 2 days, 3 days down the line, 1 week down the line, because you're still sourcing and you're yet to engage, the person's interest would have waned. And sometimes the person would have moved on. Now, I don't blame recruiters when, we get things like, oh, recruiters don't give feedback. Recruiters used to ghost people. And that's why I say the role in itself is a very high pressured role. But again, you're not excusable. You're not excusable. And that's why your recruitment strategy would help you. One thing I forgot to mention as well is your feedback management. In your recruitment strategy, map out your feedback management structure. So all these things are very important. Okay, so let's move on to the next, right? Which is interviews, negotiations, and feedback management. Now, at the points where you have sourced, you have screened, what comes next? Interviews. Now, your interviews can be structured in such a way that you're having, let's say, a pre-screening or a coffee chat, and then you're moving on to a first level, second level, third level, and so on and so forth. Again, I've seen cases where, people are doing interviews. Interviews are spanned over 1 year. They still have not hired. What is going on? So if you're in a position where maybe you're not the one calling the shots, and you notice that the interview process is too lengthy, you can walk up to your line manager and make some suggestions. A lengthy interview process. Yes, I understand sometimes companies want to ensure that they get the best, but you don't need to have 10 interview stages. You don't need to have tons of interview stages for you to be able to identify who is a good fit for the role. And all of this comes from your recruitment strategy. Because if you're clear on who you want, it helps you understand the kind of structure that should be in place for your interviews. It helps you to know if you're exploring a panel interview. It helps you to know if you're exploring a case study kind of interview. It helps you to know exactly how to structure your interview in such a way that regardless of how short your interview is, you're still able to identify the best fit for the role. Now, sometimes because recruitment and talent acquisition, they are not usually the one that calls the shots as to who gets hired. I've also seen recruiters and talent acquisition trivialize the importance of interviews. Now, one thing I do when I'm supporting an organization coordinate their interviews is ensure that I carry all the stakeholders along. How do I do that? I let you know my structure, my interview structure. I let you know if I'm going to be using an interview scorecard. I let you know if my interview is going to be a structured interview or if it's going to be a patterned interview. I engage my stakeholders to even assess their interviewing skills. Because if the people who will be interviewing candidates don't even know how to conduct interviews, it is most likely that we would end up hiring the wrong candidate for that role. So certain times, guiding the interviewers to help them know the purpose of that interview, the purpose of the recruitment and the interview exercise is also very important, so that you don't just assume that they know how to go about it. Remember that when it comes to interview, you're not the only one interviewing the candidate. The candidate is also interviewing you. So it is important that anybody who will sit in a panel or who will be engaging candidates at any point in time across the interview process has that representation of what the organization stands for and understands what it takes to represent the business in interviews. This is also another place where organizations miss it. You see people in the interview panel, sometimes they even look lost. Sometimes they're asking questions that doesn't even follow. That's because there was no orientation. That's because they just did fire brigade. Oh, just come and interview. And it shouldn't be that way. Now, negotiations, it shouldn't just even start at the point of interviews. Negotiation starts at the point of your sourcing and your screening. Another thing that I've seen is, you see, people will go through a lengthy interview process, and at the end of the day, they are getting declined offers because of what? The candidates say they cannot accept what the company is paying. Because the people involved did not do their job very well. You don't wait until you're having interviews for you to start negotiating with the candidates. From your sourcing to your screening, negotiation process has commenced. Then at every point in time in the interview process, you're consistently negotiating. To mitigate the tendency of a candidate telling you, no, it is too low, or it is even lower than my current earning, or no, I don't want this job because the salary you're offering me is ridiculous, after going through lengthy interview process. So at every point in time, you're negotiating and you're reaffirming where the candidate stands when it comes to salary aspect of it. And then we have feedback management. Sometimes I hear people who say, oh, I want to wait until we have closed the road before I give feedback. I've seen interview or recruitment exercise that dragged on for over 1 year. And it was the following year that role was closed. So imagine all the candidates that you would have engaged. It means you wouldn't have given anybody feedback until after the second year. So imagine a candidate you engaged in January 2025. It is now the January 2026, you're not giving the candidate feedback. What does that make of you? What does that make of the organization? And that's why all of these things must be fleshing out in your recruitment strategy. You must map it all out. And then it serves as your blueprint that guides you all throughout the recruitment exercise. And then the next year, we have selection, talent management, and resumption. Now, for those in the recruitment world, you don't do an extensive talent management, because at the point where your candidate resumes, yes, you can do check-in maybe the first 3 months, but you don't do an extensive talent management. For those in the TA aspects, that's in-house talent acquisition, it is now your job. Your job doesn't end when the candidate resumes, though. Your job continues down to talent management, talent development. Another mistake I've seen some TA people do as well is that they're just so focused on talent acquisition, doing little to nothing on talent management and talent development. So that's the entire life cycle when it comes to recruitment. So I've been able to differentiate it. For those in the consulting world, right, yours ends when the candidate resumes, and then you can also personally decide to do a bit of talent management by checking in on your candidate that you have placed, know how they are faring, you know what's going on in the job, understand that the job scope that was discussed with them at the point of recruitment is the same as what they're experiencing on the job. So just do that check-in with your candidates. Ask them about satisfaction on the job. So you can do that check-in, but your job ends there because you're being bounded by a contract that says that maybe at the point where your candidate resumes, you are not obligated to continue. So you pay attention to whatever it is you have in your contract. Now, for those in the TA bit, in-house recruiters, in-house talent acquisition, make sure your job doesn't end when the candidate resumes. You're also supposed, even if you're not meant to champion the onboarding, it is you that would help the onboarding process to be excellent and seamless, because you are like the comfortable tool that candidate or that new hire might be more comfortable, because you have been the one that have handheld the person all throughout the recruitment process. You're also the one that will inform the HR team as to what they need to pay attention to when it comes to the onboarding. I also advise that make an effort to be a part of the onboarding process, so that you don't just leave it to the onboarding team, because in some companies they have onboarding teams separately. Try as much as possible to volunteer to be a part of the onboarding process. And then beyond that, do further findings as to how to participate or how to champion talent management and talent development. Okay, so let's move on to the next year. What recruitment really means, right? Recruitment connects people to opportunities and organizations, right? Like I said, recruitment is immediate, right? And that immediate means a role has been identified, and then you need to get people who fit into that role. And then you're like the bridge connecting the people and the organization for that particular role. And because when it comes to recruitment, people are involved, there is a need for you to ensure that, in fact, if you're a recruiter, if you want to be a recruiter, you need to flesh it out. Ask yourself, what kind of recruiter do I want to be? What kind of result or impact do I want to drive or achieve as a recruiter? Because that will guide your entire journey when it comes to recruitment and talent acquisition. You're in the business of connecting people to opportunities. Now, sometimes I've seen some recruiters play God. Because you're in a position where you're speaking with candidates about an opportunity, you now tend to think you're alpha and omega. Sometimes I've seen recruiters tell candidates, oh, I'm going to blacklist you. I've seen recruiters talk to candidates rudely. And I'm asking myself, all for what? Are there times that candidates deserve such responses? Yes, but it is not your right to give them that response, because again, you're a representative of the company and you're a brand ambassador of the company. So you cannot do recruitment if you're not level-headed, if you're not cool-headed. You can't do recruitment if you allow your emotions take over your sense of your sense of reasoning. Because you deal with people, and people are unpredictable. People can frustrate you. But that's why you need to ask yourself, what kind of recruiter, what kind of talent acquisition professional do I want to be? All of this guides you. So I say here, it is more than filling vacancies. It is shaping the future workforce. If you're in an organization today and you're a talent acquisition person or you're driving recruitment for them, you are shaping the future of that workforce. Because remember, I said that you're a gatekeeper. People come in through you, and the quality of the people that comes in, trust me, even if other stakeholders are involved in making that decision, if anything wrong happens, it falls back to you. So as a gatekeeper, keep your gates very well, securely. But in doing that, do that with respect and do that with professionalism. Because a candidate that you do not hire today, you might be the best candidate for a role that your company needs tomorrow. But again, the ability of that candidate to join your firm is subjective to the experience they had with you in the initial recruitment process. So it is more than just filling vacancies. It is you shaping the future workforce. So I think I've dwelt a lot on recruitment talent acquisition. I also spelled it out. This is short-term versus long-term strategy. That's just the major difference. So we'll move on to key insights, right? Recruitment is often seen as transactional, and that is why I keep saying some persons treat it as surface level, some persons treat it as just operational, let's just close the role and move on, right? But it's beyond being transactional. I said it's actually a strategic function. TA looks at long-term workforce planning, talent pipeline, employer branding. Understanding these differences helps you operate at a more strategic level. So the goal is, at the end of this training, I don't just want people who just want to call themselves a recruiter. I want people who see themselves as being in a strategic position to drive business growth and long-term success for any organization that they are representing when it comes to recruitment. So thank you very much. So we have the next 30 minutes to take questions. This is just an introductory class. So in our next session, we might be having some practicals. So questions. Thank you very much for your patience in listening. And I want to believe that this session has been impactful, but let me hear from us. Questions?
Hi, thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, it's been very insightful. My question will be around, my question is around line managers who you are recruiting for at maybe interview stages. And personally, from what you have checked, you are very sure that that candidate actually fits. But the line manager or the hiring manager rather is insisting that this person doesn't fit. And sometimes it might even be for a personal reason. You know how sometimes people might just be biased with decisions. How can you undo that? I mean, knowing that you have gone through a lot to identify this talent, and then a hiring manager is insisting that that candidate doesn't fit.
Okay.
Meanwhile, the person actually fits. It's just a personal, bias that the person is having.
Thank you very much, Esther. Now, this identification of if the person is a fit or not a fit, is it happening at the screening phase or is it happening at the interview phase?
Interview phase.
Interview phase. Now, the interview, is it just the hiring manager that interviewed this candidate, or there was a panel set up for the interview?
Maybe the person is actually the line manager for that thing.
Yes.
So, for example, it says
no, I know that, right? I know that. That's what I'm asking you.
Yes.
Now, the hiring manager is supposed to be the one to make decision, but that's what I'm asking you now. What is the structure of the interview? Is the interview process just you have your own interview and then the hiring manager interviews and then hires? Because there will be a faulty.
Yes,
it's going to be faulty. That interview process will be faulty because there'll be a whole lot of bias. There should have been a neutral person who is supposed to be a part of that interview process to also give their own take as to the performance of the candidate. Again, did you use an interview scorecard during the interview?
Yeah, so there's like a sheet for scoring each candidate after every interview.
So there is a need to analyze. If you have your own scorecard and the hiring manager has their own scorecard, there is a need to analyze both. Because recruitment should not be treated on personal basis or in emotions. There is a need for analysis. And data doesn't lie. So if you have your own scorecard, the hiring manager has their own scorecard, analyze both. Now, if the hiring manager has some bias, is there a third party that you can now say, okay, let this person, a more senior person that you can say, please, we'll need you to interview. But like I said, remember what I said earlier, if you don't flesh out a recruitment strategy very well, you'll just be putting candidates across different hurdles of interviews. And it's going to reflect because you don't have your processes well streamlined. So can you see where the issues are coming from?
Yes.
Because right now you don't have any saying, and you don't have any power. If the hiring manager insists, you cannot beat your chest and say, okay, you cannot beat your chest and defend why you think that candidate is the right candidate. But if you have all of these documents backing all those things, your recruitment strategy, and your interview process is well structured, then you can go back and defend the reason why you say this candidate is the best fit for the role.
Yes, yes, that really, yeah, that's a very insightful answer. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Esther.
Thank you. Thank you.
So any other question? Questions.
Okay, ma, you made mention of talent acquisition, in-house talent acquisition. So I want to know what's their major role in the organization, if there's a HR in the organization too, because you made mention of them also helping with the business strategy of the organization. So I got confused there.
Okay, now HR and talent acquisition. Talent acquisition is embedded in HR, right? But HR is a generalized aspect of it. Now, talent acquisition is specialized when it comes to bringing the people in. Not every HR should do talent acquisition because they do not have that expertise. HR focuses on the larger business goals, while talent acquisition focuses majorly on talent attraction. Sometimes they go the extra length to even they participate in talent management and talent development. When you talk about HR is sitting on policies. HR is sitting on employee relations. HR is sitting on performance management. Sometimes HR is sitting on learning and development, even though I usually advocate for learning and development to also be specialized. Talent acquisition's job is majorly revolved around the recruitment aspect, talent management, and talent development. HR drives talent management to a larger scale, but TA is supposed to support HR in talent management. Now, in certain organizations that is, let's say, a small size business, you can see a HR person doing talent acquisition. That's okay if the person has the right skills for it. But TA is meant to be specialized. And that's why you notice that in bigger organization, in large size organization, within the HR team, you have TA, you have HR generalists, you have HR BP. You will notice that there are differentiations to the different roles. The reason why HR should not be doing talent acquisition is because talent acquisition needs a specialized skill set. You need to pay attention to details. I can't have my HR that I need to sit on policies, to sit on implementation of policies. I can't have my HR that I need them to sit on, tracking and performance, managing and sitting on attendance management and whatnot. I cannot have that same person, doing my TA. There's a tendency for that person not to get it right. If it's a small size business, it's okay to, let one HR person handle everything. But ideally, it should be a separated function because of what's the word now? Because of the importance of talent acquisition. If you get it wrong, you're putting the organization at the risk of just resolving people problems every time. And it also builds to HR problem because the bulk of what HR is doing is employee relations and management. So if, for example, the HR person gets it wrong, it is this person that will be charged with the responsibility of solving that problem. So Bakri, I don't know if I've helped you to gain clarity.
Yes, ma'am, you have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So any further questions? So we have until 2 o'clock. Hi, Chidinma.
Hi, Ada. Thank you so much for this very insightful session.
I've been able to learn a lot. And even from Barclay's question, I was able to get, some clarification of some sort. But like, what would you advise for, let's say, I think that is a question. What would you advise for like a small company that doesn't even see the problem with having just one person cover the whole HR function, right? You want one person to do the hiring, you want one person to do the performance, you want one person to do everything. Like and you've tried to like broach the subject, like some of us like we need this thing, but to them they feel like they've been doing it like even before this HR thing, before you decided to do this. We've been doing this, we've been getting good results. I don't see why we should hire more people. How do you go about it?
Okay. Now, for such cases, right, you need to understand the business direction. That's the first thing. What is the business direction? The business direction will help you to know what to prioritize. The company might tell you that they've been doing it time and time again, right? And there's no need to bring in more people. It could be that they are constrained when it comes to cost. They are trying to manage their costs. And we all know that bringing in more people mean you pay more salaries. And paying more salaries mean you incur more costs. Now, it is now the job of whoever it is I explained that role to ask themselves, do I really want to support this business and help them achieve what they want to achieve? Do I think I have that capacity? If you have that capacity, you should start partnering with your stakeholders. Because to be frank and honest, I'll be lying to you if I tell you that they are getting it wrong. And that's why I say first things first, understand the business direction. The business direction will help you to know what to prioritize. It could be that right now the priority for the business is talent acquisition. It could be that right now the priority for the business is policy implementation, compliance, and adherence. It could be that right now the direction of the business is on employee relations. It could be that right now the priority of the business is even driving their, what's it called now, satisfaction, employee satisfaction, employee engagement, and ensuring that the people in the business are keen into the vision of the business, and they are contributing their honest best to driving the growth of the business. So until you understand the business direction, that's when you would know how to approach this. Now, it might be a lot for you, but then again, it won't be a lot for you if you know the business direction. It will help you know what to prioritize. It will also help you know how to map out your work schedule, your work structure. It will help you know what to pay more attention to and what to give less attention to. It will also help you know how to relate with every other person and see what can be delegated. Because there are certain people in your firm that might not be their key role, but because they have some sort of capacity, it will help you know, oh, can I delegate this? So I can't sit here and tell you that the business is wrong or the HR person is right? It all matters to the business direction, and for the individual as well. The individual needs to ask themselves, what is my aspiration? What is my growth path? What is my capacity? Can I do this? Do I think I want to help this business in the direction that they are headed? So that's the only time you would know exactly how to approach this.
Okay, thank you very much. That sort of answers it. My next question. I think there was a part where you mentioned that when talent acquisition, when they put out their job description, they leave out some information about maybe like to cut out bias and all, like age, gender, and everything like that. Do you recommend that that is always added to a job description? Like, yes, there are sometimes I see like some
please don't
JDs
add it
stuff.
to in a more civilized world, you can be sued.
Oh, it can be said.
Chidima,
But doesn't that
hear
help
me?
to cut out, like, in your mind of, yes, I can. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Go on.
Okay, is this better? Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You can go on.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm trying to ask, like you said, you can be sued by putting this out, right? But doesn't it also help to like sift sift like out like the unnecessaries. You know in your mind of minds, or you know within the company that this position that you're putting out is just for females. And then you now have like a lot of applications, both from females and males. Or you know that the required age for this role is probably 25 to 35, and then you have older people. So is it not just better to like let people know that I don't even stand a chance with this company because I'm not, eligible for this role?
Okay, thank you very much, Chidima. Now, can you put it out? Just give it to them. Oh, if you know that you're not female, don't apply. That is not good, but you can put it out in a diplomatic way. For example, if it's a role that requires male or female, you can say something that maybe for gender equity, right? Females are encouraged to apply. You're not saying for gender equity, only females should apply. You're saying for gender equity, females are encouraged to apply, or males are encouraged to apply. So anybody that sees that knows that preference will be given more to female candidates. Now, on the aspect of age, if, for example, the people you're looking for is a Gen Z, you can also say the same thing. Gen Zs are encouraged to apply, or millennials are encouraged to apply, or baby boomers. And every of the centuries, they have their names, Abi. If you want Gen Alpha too, state it there. Gen Alphas are encouraged to apply. Anybody that has never known what a Gen Alpha is, even good for them, they'll go and research who Gen Alphas are. So there's a way you can put it out in a very diplomatic way without giving up the vibe of, please, if you're not it, don't even bother. And bear in mind again that through your JDs, you're also trying to build pipeline. So you can do it in a diplomatic way, but just putting it out there, like I said, in civilized world. You've seen cases where people will come and sue somebody to say, oh, because of your JD, I was depressed. I lost hope. I almost committed suicide. And one of the things in SDG goals, even in labor law, that's international labor, ILO, there is something they have there against gender discrimination. They also have a whole lot on discrimination in itself. So imagine somebody takes you to court and then you're being sanctioned to the, what is it called now, ILO court or whatever, and then you're being founded guilty on reasons like something that could have been easily avoided. So you don't want to put yourself in that position. Now, the reason why you see things like, in fact, I've seen a JD here in Nigeria that they wrote, only people, if you don't have 2-1, don't apply. I've seen such. And here we just walk up past, because in Nigeria, we pray things work. I don't want to say nothing seems to be working. I'll just say we pray things work. So it can be done in a very diplomatic way. English is plenty. You can always find a way to tweak it in such a way that it doesn't come across as being discriminatory. And with that, you can still achieve your goal.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, it does. Just finding a way to be diplomatic about this requirement.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think I have one more question. My last question is about feedback, right?
Okay.
What happens when you've done, or do you recommend that feedback be given to every single maybe candidate you've interviewed, like in a case where you've done an interview, maybe first stage, and the person doesn't seem to match what it is that you're looking for? Do you need to send an email? Oh, okay, sorry, you're not what it is that we're looking at this. Yes, I get the whole point of being diplomatic about putting it, but does there need to be that follow-up? Does there need to be that feedback to the person? Or is it something that you can, let me use the tag that we understand, air the person? Is it something you air, oh, this person, you know what we're friend now? So we'll continue our pursuits in the front. Or do you need to provide that feedback to every single candidate that you interview and doesn't seem to, fit the mold of what it is you're looking for?
Okay. Thank you very much, Lima. And that's why I said, ask yourself, what kind of recruiter do you want to be, right? That's if you're able to answer that question, that would help you know how to approach your feedback. Now, the second thing is, do you use an ATS system? There are ways you can automate your feedbacks in such a way that if you want to give feedbacks to all your candidates, it is possible. If you're also unable to, if you just want to give feedback to some selected people, it is also possible. Now, there's certain times that what's it called? For example, if you're using an ATS tool, or let's say even if you're not using an ATS tool, in your JDs, you can also put it out there that you appreciate everybody who would apply for the role, but because of maybe the volume of application you might be reviewing, right? If you don't get contacted, it simply means you were not shortlisted. So from the application, you're already giving feedback. So nobody can hold you to ransom. If anybody holds you to ransom, you can point them to that document. But again, like I said, be diplomatic in how you say things like this. And that's why I started by saying you can just have a submission message for everybody that will apply for your role. Thank you for your interest. We appreciate the time you have taken, to fill this application form or to go through or to complete your application process. As much as we would have loved to give you real-time feedback, please bear with us. We might be reviewing tons of applications. Now, if you get shortlisted, we'll contact you. But if you don't get shortlisted, right, please know that we might not contact you. But feel free to send us an email to follow up or to get our feedback as to your application. And we'll be happy to do that. So that's on the one side. If you're not using an ATS, from the application phase, you can set keywords in place to tell the ATS, if this CVs doesn't have these keywords, send a reject mail or send what's it called, an unsuccessful application email to the applicant. ATS can help you close that gap. Now, as you commence in interviews, immediately you have started interviewing candidates. At the point where you have picked up your phone and have real-time engagements with a candidate, I usually advise and give them feedback. Give them feedback. Even if they are not good to go, again, you can structure your feedback in such a way that you're not making the person to go back and for them to start thinking about their life. You're giving them a subtle rejection to say that, yes, our engagement with you was quite impressive, but at this point in time, our direction is more aligned, or is what's it called? Our focus is in this particular direction, and we'll be happy to engage you maybe in other subsequent recruitments when we have such openings available. So your sentences, every statement from you must be sorted in such a way that it is not just completely tearing the individual, it's not tearing people out. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you everybody for your time today, right? Apologies, my video is stopped though. Okay, so Chidima, I didn't get that. I was asking if I was able to answer your question.
Yes, you were able to. Thank you very much for that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And with that, we've come to the end of this training session for today. We have 4 minutes, right? Or does anyone have any question? Let me take one more question before we wrap it up. Okay, so I want to believe no further questions. Thank you so much for your time today. And I believe that with this session, you've learned certain things as to how to go back and improve when it comes to what you're doing on recruitment, or how to start mapping out your recruitment process and understanding that recruitment is a strategic function. So let's enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you so much for those clapping. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So see you all next week.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Have a restful weekend.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.